Tonight marks the beginning of a comeback for America.
Hi, it's Josh Marshall from TPMtv. It's Thursday, January 17th, 2008. That was Mitt Romney at the big Mitt-Mentum victory party 2 nights ago in Michigan after Mitt Romney saved his campaign by pulling out a pretty solid victory over John McCain. Now, this is episode 9 of our weekly 2008 campaign roundup, so let's get right down to business. You remember a few episodes back we described how the real pattern of the GOP race is that every new frontrunner successively has crashed and burned, opening the ground to a new frontrunner who then crashes and burns. Now, on Tuesday, we explained to you how Mitt Romney put it all on the line in Michigan, and he actually pulled it off. He beat John McCain by almost 10 points, thus bringing the John McCain steamroller to the nomination, knocking it off the tracks after about 1 week. Now, in a lot of ways, this GOP race is like all the others. In every GOP contest, you've got, a handful of 4 or 5 loser candidates who've each won a primary here, a caucus there. But at this point, getting to the end of January, it's about time that they have to bow out, since obviously they have no chance of winning. The only problem is, in this case, you have no frontrunner. Normally, you've got all the loser candidates and one frontrunner who's going to go on and win the nomination. Of course, now you have no frontrunner, and you've got an entire contest just made up of the remaining loser candidates. Now, by rights, loser candidates like Mitt Romney and John McCain and Mike Huckabee, these guys should all be dropping out right now, but they don't have to. They get basically a get-out-of-jail-free card because, again, there's no real frontrunner. All right, now, since the Republican Party can't nominate nobody this summer, let's go down the list and see who's in the best position to actually pull this off. Now, let's start with last week's frontrunner, John McCain. Not only did he get slapped upside the face 2 days ago in Michigan, he's got a bigger problem going forward in the Republican primaries. And that problem has to do with independent voters. If you go back and look at New Hampshire and Michigan, in New Hampshire, Mitt Romney actually barely won the New Hampshire primary among Republican voters. The key is that the New Hampshire primary is an open primary, and that means that independents can cross over and vote in either the Republican or Democratic primary. So a lot of independents voted for John McCain, and that gave him his victory in New Hampshire. Now, a lot of people thought McCain would do well too in Michigan because they have a similar system. Obviously, it didn't work out. Not only did Mitt Romney beat John McCain by almost 10 points overall, he beat him by something like 14 points when you count just Republican registered voters. The problem is most of the big states from here on out are closed primaries, and there's very little evidence that John McCain can win when the primary is restricted to just Republican voters. Now, how about Rudy Giuliani, the frontrunner for most of the last year? Now, it is not looking good for this guy at all. 2 nights ago in Michigan, he managed an anemic 3% of the vote, and so far, Ron Paul actually has more delegates to the Republican National Convention than Rudy Giuliani. Now, Rudy's still trying to put a pretty brave face on things. You can actually see him right here telling Fox News, sort of smiling through his tears, about just how everything's going perfectly, and he's got the rest of the candidates exactly where he wants them.
You nervous? I'm not nervous at all. I look nervous. No, you don't. I'm having a great time. This is a strategy we selected. It's the strategy that we believe, even to the extent that you analyze it now, it's the only strategy that can work for us. And it's a good one.
Okay, that's not a pretty sight. We also think Mike Huckabee's maybe not doing too well. Since his big win in Iowa, hasn't had good races in New Hampshire or Michigan, and now he's trying to play up the fact that he's a big squirrel eater to rustle up votes down south. Take a look.
South Carolina is a great place for me. I mean, I know how to eat grits. I speak the language. And, we even know how to talk about eating fried squirrel and stuff like that. So we're on the same wavelength. When I was in college, we used to take a popcorn popper, because that was the only thing that they would let us use in the dorms, and we would fry squirrel and popcorn poppers in the dorm room. I bet you never did that.
Too much information.
After that, you got Fred Thompson, but his supporters can barely even get him out of bed. So that campaign's really going nowhere fast. So the reality is we don't really have any idea what's going on the Republican side, but we'll know a little bit more this Saturday when you have the Nevada caucus on the Republican side and the South Carolina primary. We're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, a few quick words about the Democrats.
Cigarette.
The crack cocaine spider.
More!
All right, we're back. Now on to the Democrats. Now, if you saw the debate on Tuesday, you know that both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama really tried to lower the temperature, settle things down, and move the debate off these racially charged issues that were happening last week. Now, here are two things to look at on the Democratic side going forward over the next few weeks. The polls on a national level have been kind of all over the place in the last few days. Some have it basically neck and neck. Others have Hillary Clinton up by as much as 15 points. Now, just as important as the polls are nationwide or the polls in individual states, there are a bunch of big delegate-rich states coming up either on February 5th or the week previous. Florida, New Jersey, California, New York, all have a lot of delegates, and polls have come out in each of those states in the last few days. Hillary Clinton seems to be holding a 15 to 20 point lead in all of those states. If Barack Obama can't start making up that margin pretty quick, he's just not going to be able to do this. Now, an underdog candidate like Barack Obama was before Iowa, he usually only gets one chance to really break out and vault ahead in the polls. He's already had that in Iowa and then going into New Hampshire. So the question is, what's going to happen over the next 3 or 4 weeks that's going to change the dynamic that will allow Obama to make up that ground? Is it doable? Definitely. But I'll be watching really closely the polls in California, New Jersey, Florida, states like that, to see where this Democratic race is going. So that's our roundup for today. Stay tuned. Saturday night, we'll be bringing you the results from the Nevada caucuses and the Republican South Carolina primary. I'm Josh Marshall from TPM Media, and we'll talk to you next week.